revenue through digital marketing. Entrepreneur Magazine said I was the #1 marketer in the world, and they also said I created one of the 100 most brilliant companies. I started my first website at the age of 16. I took all the money that I earned from working at an amusement park and I paid a marketing firm. The marketing firm provided no results, and I quickly learned that I wasn't alone. Out of my frustration and from being broke, I had no choice but to learn marketing. My first client was a power supply manufacturer. I helped them generate another $25 million in sales, and from that point, I realized the power of marketing. I helped everyone that I could, and I built my reputation by being honest and over-delivering. I've helped companies like Google, NBC, Viacom, General Motors, eBay, but nothing's more satisfying than helping small business owners succeed. I founded 4 multi-million-dollar companies, and I've learned all the mistakes that you should avoid. I've written about them on Forbes, Entrepreneur, Inc., Fast Company, and even on my own blogs. It's so awesome to know that colleges from all around the world are teaching my material in their classroom. Over the years, I've received awards from the President of the United States, the House of Representatives, and the United Nations. People believe marketing is expensive and difficult. Fortunately, that's not true. There is a formula. Even if you don't have a technical bone in your body, you can get results. And my mission is to share this formula with you.
Hello everyone, thank you guys for coming today. And today the team and I are going to be discussing how you're wasting your time on social media. Does this mean you shouldn't be using social media? Of course not. There's more so a new approach that you need to take. So let's dive right in. My name is Neil Patel. I'm the co-founder of NP Digital. We're a global ad agency. I have the privilege of doing this webinar today with Kayla and Michelle from our team. Kayla, do you want to give a quick introduction of yourself? And then Michelle, you can do the same.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Kayla. I'm the social media manager here at NP Digital. I've been in the digital marketing agency world for over 8 years, managed over 200 social media accounts. So happy to be on this webinar with all of you.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle. I'm a digital PR manager here with over 8 years of experience in the digital PR, social, and influencer space. I've worked with a lot of consumer brands and everywhere from startups to enterprise level brands, so I'm happy to present with the team today.
Awesome. So a little bit about us. As I mentioned, we're NP Digital. We're a global ad agency. We have over 1,000 people. We're in 20 or so countries, have a lot of awards. Keep in mind, we've tried and tested social media. So today when we break things down, just keep in mind it's coming from a place of experience and more so producing results. Can you go to the next slide, Michelle? There you go. So social media is the sports car of marketing. It's sexy and fun, but it doesn't always produce the best results. And on the next slide here, you can see some graphs that show it, right? So when you're looking at these graphs here, you can see that organic social doesn't actually drive that much revenue in the grand scheme of things, but it's sexy. So people want to focus all their time and attention on it. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't spend time on social media versus paid ads or other marketing channels. You just need to change your approach so that way you can get a better ROI. A lot of people think, so is social media a waste of time? As I mentioned, it's not a waste of time. It's more so you need to adjust that approach. The landscape in 2024 is really evolving and it's changing. People look at social media kind of like search. Oh, there's Google, and they just use Google. It's not the case. With the introduction of TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and I know some of them are owned by Meta, it hasn't made it where the others have died down. It's more so people just use more and more social platforms. According to Demand Sage, I believe the average number of platforms a user uses is either 6.6 or 6.8 social platforms per person. And their algorithms have adjusted where it's becoming harder and harder to get the organic reach. One of the big reasons that you have to be on social media is there's 4.8 billion people. That's a lot of people using these platforms. If you're not on there, you're going to miss out on a lot of potential customers. And the average person is spending 2 hours and 24 minutes a day on social media. It's commanding more attention than pretty much any other platform out there. This is why it's super important to be on social media. You're also seeing a shift in dynamics, right? In which 91% of businesses use social media for marketing, but a lot of them are just using it to update on what's happening with their business or to build culture. A lot of these platforms are making changes where you can just start buying on the platforms and it's making it easier to generate revenue. So you're going to actually see businesses use it more and more, not just for brand building or culture building, but more so to generate direct sales and a direct ROI. But there's one big problem. There's roughly 4.6 billion pieces of content that are being pushed on social media each and every single day, which means it's hard for your content to stand out. And what you're really seeing is content being published everywhere. And the good content, because these are discovery networks now, are being shown to everyone. The crap content that gets very little engagement by a small percentage of their followers is being, compressed and not being shown to really anyone. And here's the interesting thing. We analyzed over 5 million social media posts for the last 30 days, and 59.41% had no engagement. No likes, no shares, no comments. It just shows you the stuff you're seeing is the stuff people like. The other stuff isn't really getting engagement, hence you're not seeing it. So why do people use social media? Well, there's many different reasons, but the biggest reason is maintaining contact with their friends and family. Although what we're seeing is the pastime or finding news and information and even looking for products is rapidly growing. So we're seeing people using social media less and less for maintaining contacts with their friends and family. I know it's a big portion. People use it for multiple reasons. But when we're looking at time spent for that, more people are using it for the other aspects when you're looking at the 2+ hours a day than just the maintaining contact with friends and family. And social media is gaining momentum as a search engine as well. Remember, people can use multiple platforms, so your numbers can add up to more than 100%. But they're not just using AI and chatbots and search engines like Google. They're also using social media while they weren't as much 4 years ago. And you'll see this increase even faster over time with all the AI updates these platforms are doing. And young people are turning to TikTok and Instagram instead of Google, right? Or Google VP ended up breaking down how, Gen Z is using Instagram and TikTok to find a place to eat or products to buy versus just Google. And you're seeing that popularity rise over time more, and you'll see it for different age demographics as well. It's also the biggest product discovery engine. The last 2 purchases I made were stuff that I saw on Instagram. No joke. Seriously. Both of them were cups where you can mix like smoothies in. One of them actually had a blender and it was a cup and you push a button and it, I was like, oh, this is cool. I can get like a healthy drink with vegetables and stuff on the go. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But, these social platforms are amazing at getting people to buy. I wasn't looking for a blender product on the go, but I bought it. And even though Facebook isn't really talked about anymore and people are like, oh, I don't use Facebook, it still is the one that generates the majority of the revenue out there for marketers. Instagram is growing at a rapid pace, so is YouTube and TikTok, but Facebook, is still the queen or king, whatever you want to end up calling it, even though it's ugly and boring and no one talks about it. And you're also seeing TikTok is coming for Amazon, right? They're really heavily focusing on shopping, and you're going to see that grow more and more over time. Especially because, people are not just using these platforms for search, but they're also using them for discovery. And a lot of people are learning how to do things on TikTok and then buying at the same time.
So at this point, I think you get the idea that the problem isn't about using social media. Really, it's that a lot of people aren't tying the marketing aspect into social media marketing. So how do we get started with that? One of the biggest components you need to understand early on is knowing your audience. And Neil was just talking about this a little bit, but you really have to understand who you're going to be marketing to. Different age groups very clearly prefer different social media platforms. So while boomers still tend to prefer Facebook, the youngest generation now most widely turns to Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for their social media consumption. And when you know what your brand audience is, then you can use that information to determine which social media platforms you'll want to place a higher focus on. So now we'll dive into the 7 most common social media marketing errors and what you can do to solve them.
So the first error is confusing posting with marketing. At NPD, we've been telling our clients quality over quantity. And just because you post more does not mean you're going to generate more sales. So stay away from posting random content and instead focus on content that is going to give your audience value. So how do you do that? By following the 80-20 rule. And what that means is 80% of your content should either educate, inform, or entertain your audience, and the other 20% can be used to directly promote your brand. So by following this rule, you're posting content that attracts the right audience and then drives them through the funnel. You also want to focus on views when creating social content. So what's views? It stands for funnel, unique accounts reached, zero click, engagement, and dwell time. So let's go over each one. Funnel. Social media helps build brand awareness and is typically top of funnel. And this is fine as long as you can keep the middle and bottom of the funnel in mind. So when you're creating content, don't just think about how you can attract more people. Think about how you can slowly sell them and drive them to the rest of the funnel. Number 2, unique accounts reached. Your goal isn't only to reach your followers, it's to reach as many targeted accounts on each platform. So it's important to look at platform analytics after you publish content to see which ones reach the most unique accounts. This will give you an idea of what's performing well and what isn't. Number 3, zero click. Most social media platform algorithms decrease your reach if you drive people to an external site. Of course, unless it's an ad. So your goal should be 95% of your content should be to keep people on the platform. There's nothing wrong with driving people to your site. Just do that with 5% or less of your content. Number 4, engagement. Focus on creating content that encourages comments. And when people leave a comment, make sure to respond. It's one of the biggest signals for social platforms, and it carries more weight than likes and shares because it takes more effort to leave a comment. Number 5, dwell time. The longer you keep your audience's attention, the more likely your content is to go viral. Social platforms like YouTube do an amazing job of showing you video retention stats, so be sure to look at these to help optimize your content across all platforms. So next time you're posting on social media, ask yourself, am I focusing on views?
The second error is focusing exclusively on the organic social media approach. Now, you've already seen this chart to the right in the beginning of our presentation, but we're bringing it back up now because over the last 3 years, there has been roughly an almost 62% decrease in the organic social media reach. So if organic social media alone isn't driving any results, then what's the solution? The solution to expand your social media horizon. So the error is that you can't just focus on organic social. You really need to work in other tactics such as paid ads and collaborations. One key way to help expand your reach is by leveraging influencers for both organic and paid campaigns. Now, I feel like I can say a good amount of us, as Neil mentioned earlier, have bought something that we were influenced in one way or another through something that we saw on social media. And I can say that confidently because stats show that at least in the last year alone, 1 in every 4 consumers bought a product based on an influencer's recommendation. And on the flip side, marketers are seeing that ROI as well, considering that this year, 50% of those marketers plan to increase their investment in influencer marketing. This information was included in HubSpot's 2024 State of Marketing report, and its director of marketing believes that partnerships with creators are now an indispensable opportunity for business growth. And that's because you're tapping into like-minded individuals who are helping push your brand to their audience of followers who look to what they say. Well, people often think that macro influencers, meaning those with a following of more than 500K, or celebrities make the biggest splash. You can also look to more budget-friendly options with micro influencers or others in your space, because sometimes those smaller influencers or like-minded individuals receive more engagement than those with larger followings. So covering your bases here on reach and impact is key. And if you have the budget, other tactics to consider fall within paid social media. Not only is paid social the second biggest market within digital marketing, but it also helps boost organic social efforts. So if you're not setting aside some budget for paid ads on social, we definitely recommend doing so as well. But regardless of which approach you take, you want to ensure you're really placing a focus on the overall user experience. Paid social media content needs to make the audience feel like it belongs within their feed and not seem like an interruption to their daily content consumption. And lastly, on this section, getting verified accounts provide access to additional features that the average user doesn't typically have. It isn't about running ads. It's about finding ways to leverage the functionality, such as advanced analytics, available for your business to enhance the approach. Verified accounts are also more likely to appear in search results, feeds, and recommendations, further expanding the reach your content can have.
Now, the third error marketers make is frequently posting poor content. Not only do algorithms penalize you for putting out poor content, but it isn't going to bring you much engagement. So essentially, you're wasting your time creating content. And in the marketing industry, your time is money, right? So how can you make sure you're not wasting your time? By creating an optimized posting strategy. And the next few slides, we'll go over how to optimize your posting cadence, posting times, and content types. Like Neil mentioned, recently we analyzed more than 5 million social media posts to uncover how often you should be posting across all platforms. For X, you should be posting 3 or more times a day. On LinkedIn, at least once a day. On TikTok, 1 to 3 times a day. On Facebook, we couldn't really find a pattern for posting frequency, so we like to say it's the Wild West. And on YouTube, we recommend posting once a day for both shorts and long form videos. And lastly, on Instagram, you should post 1 to 2 times a day, 2 to 4 stories a day, and go live at least once a week.
And make sure you guys screenshot this. The reason this slide here is important is a lot of these social networks, if you keep posting crap content, they suppress your reach with future posts, even if it's amazing. But on the flip side, X does not do that. So you can just post as much as you want and use it as a testing ground.
And this is another slide you should take a screenshot of. But really, the best times to post on social media can vary by platform, audience, and content type. But here are the best times we found for posting on Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Pinterest based on our study. And no surprise here, we found that short form videos are dominating social right now, along with expert advice, podcasts, live videos, memes, UGC, and other text based social content surrounding tutorials, how to's, and industry updates, to name a few. So the key here is really creating engaging content. Post something fresh and new, remember to use a strong hook, and don't be afraid to have your own opinion. But most importantly, you want to also provide value, and this can easily be done through educational content. Make sure to share personal experiences. The more your audience can relate to you, the more they're going to want to engage with you. Ask open-ended questions to encourage comments and be sure to respond to them. And lastly, create content on popular topics and evergreen content. An important thing to remember with videos is that the best editing doesn't always equal better performance. Your goal isn't to create a TV commercial, right? Just think about all the videos that go viral on TikTok. More often than not, people are talking directly to you about an experience or they're trying to teach you something. They're relatable and authentic, and that should be your goal as well. If you really want to boost brand awareness and credibility, leverage user-generated content. Consumers like content from other people who are just like them or are going through similar challenges. This is a great way to highlight product benefits and boost sales. And in fact, 79% of people say UGC highly impacts their purchasing decisions. So this is a huge opportunity to incorporate in your social strategy if you haven't already. And on the next slide here, you'll see which platforms love.
Yeah.
There we go. So which platforms love user-generated content the most? We found UGC performs the best on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. So when you start to optimize your social strategy, lean into UGC more on these 3 platforms. During our research, we also found the ideal content length you should be posting per platform. So when creating educational content on Instagram, the ideal length for a reel is anywhere between 38 and 51 seconds. On LinkedIn, 40 to 46 seconds for short form videos, and 3 to 4 minutes for long form videos. On YouTube, the ideal length was 41 to 57 seconds for shorts, and on TikTok, 18 to 31 seconds. And lastly, X educational tweets were 173 words performed the best.
The fourth most common error is that people aren't marketing on enough platforms. As Neil mentioned earlier, on average, people are using social media in 6.7 different social media networks within each given month, meaning that if you're only focusing on a few, you're missing out on a mass amounts of opportunity among other platforms. And as Kayla said, time is money. So unless you have a social media manager or a team behind your channels, it might sound like a huge undertaking to post across many different platforms. So how do you combat that?
My memory was off. I was like 6.6 or 6.8. It was right in the middle
Close.
at
You were close.
6.7.
Yeah, right in between 6.7. So the way that you can really expand your reach and tap into a bunch of different platforms is by repurposing content across many different platforms. So if you take a look at Neil's social platforms on any given day, at first glance, it might seem like, maybe this is his favorite outfit or he loves to wear this sweater. But if you look closely, you'll really notice that this is just the same content being shared and highlighted in different forms across Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube, capitalizing on the content opportunities across each. So that means that any given piece of social media content has the potential to reach a larger audience without pouring all your time to create unique pieces across each platform.
And it is also my favorite sweater. I have 5 of the same one.
If you like it, keep buying it.
That's right.
So while there are other social channels that marketers tend to lean towards, it's worth noting that these can result in the biggest ROI, such as Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. But that's not to say that some lesser used platforms should be pushed to the side, because as you can see, platforms like Pinterest, for example, still have 465 million monthly active users. So really it's about experimenting and seeing where you can get the most traction and engagement, which leads me to our next point. So we're all familiar with the big 5 of social media. To the right, you can see those listed here among all the reasons why you should engage with each of these. But there are also a few key reasons on why you should experiment with those underdog platforms. The first being that lower competition among those platforms means your brand has a better chance of standing out because there isn't as much static or noise to put yourself up against. And niche platforms also often foster passionate and active user bases, meaning, again, more engagement. And speaking of audience, you can reach specific demographics and interests with greater precision among some of these smaller platforms. And because these platforms might not have the same amount of average users as some of those top ones we're most familiar with, advertising opportunities likely tend to be more affordable. And lastly, untapped platforms can offer unique features per each and future growth potential as attraction and the interest grows among them.
Now, the fifth common error marketers make is ignoring social SEO. Right now at MPD, we've been screaming search is everywhere, and it really is. More and more people are using social to search, and marketers are forgetting to optimize their content when trying to adapt to this trend. So, how can you incorporate social SEO in your content?
And that's a big one, right? Because what she's talking about here is people are searching on Facebook, they're searching on Instagram, TikTok, Google. Like it really is everywhere. Even Airbnb, you're searching on there when you're looking for a vacation rental. You're searching on, platforms to find the best airline like Expedia or hotels.com for a hotel. And people aren't just optimizing for, or more so companies are optimizing for Google when people are using so many different platforms to search. And social is a big up and coming one, and you're going to see it grow more and more popular over time. There's also tools like Answer the Public that pulls data from TikTok, and then you can also use like TikTok Creator Insights to see what people are searching for as well. Those 2 tools will give you quite a bit of insights.
So, by conducting a keyword research per platform, an easy way to do this is by simply typing a keyword you want to rank into the channel search bar. You'll see a list of trending topics and keywords people are frequently searching for, and base your content creation on these keywords and searches. Like Neil mentioned, you can also use platform specific tools like TikTok's Creator Search Insights to find out what's trending. You also want to focus on informational keywords, which often start with who, what, when, where, why, and how. A good way to do this is just by using Google's People Also Ask feature or Answer the Public. Remember, you want to create valuable content that answers frequently asked questions online and the needs of your audience as well. And lastly, don't forget to jump on platform specific trends. Right now, TikTok is promoting photo based posts. So if you also hop on this trend, you're likely to see higher engagement as well.
The sixth most common error is looking at social media in isolation. So, as any good marketer knows, you can't just look at one tactic or approach on its own. You must take a holistic view and approach to your strategies. Through social media, you're able to uncover insights that can help guide your overall marketing strategy. For instance, when looking through a marketing lens, you can pick up on what the audience interest is, what are their pain points, and what content speaks to them the most. While from a product perspective, you can get a gauge on what people think of your products or services and what problems or questions they encounter when turning to your brand. It's all about using social listening and really taking into account what our audiences are consuming day in and day out. Additionally, you can leverage your social media content through cross-channel synergies. Some examples of this would be using snippets of an engaging social video within your email marketing that gets sent out, embedding some of those eye-catching social posts within your website, turning engagement insights into blog content topics that you know your audience is searching for, and many other ways. While this is great for your internal strategies, it's also vital as the search engine landscape continues to evolve. We're now seeing Google beginning to incorporate most visual searches within its experiences, including TikTok videos. You can see in the example here, for instance, that when you're searching for the easy peasy dress Halara, the first few results are people showing off the dress within their content, meaning that these pieces of social content are now dominating and showing up in search results and changing the user experience. So sticking to search behaviors, for anyone who's a part of the beauty and fashion side of social media like myself, we can very easily see how virality can impact overall search demand. As topics start to trend across social media, they can really help drive search behavior and ultimately impact product sales in a few different ways. As items, for instance, grow in popularity and can create demand for new products because new search terms can stem from coin phrases that people are beginning to use across social content. It can also create demand for related products that tie to popular TikTok trends. Now, recently there was a spark in people talking about turmeric skincare products and their benefits. And the search for products or these types of products quickly increased, leading the brands to quickly jump on trends, turning around or promoting products that they already have with turmeric in them. And
What's
lastly,
funny is when you see these trends, when my mom sees them, she's like, "Oh, I have turmeric in our kitchen. Here you go. Just mix it in, and you're good. You don't even need to spend the money."
yeah, exactly. It really just causes people to start finding or searching more for it or kind of grasping at what they already have and seeing how they can relate it to the trends. And the last thing on this is that it can really reignite demand for existing products who can benefit from a surge in popularity and search as creators on TikTok reintroduce it to their consumers. So the example we have here specifically is for the Lululemon belt bag, which has been trending for a while now. But I think another great example that I can really think of here is around the brand Stanley and the Stanley cups that you see all over, not only social, but in the real world, really. So if anyone's familiar with Stanley, they create the tumblers, cups, mugs, everything at this point related to drinkware, but they were actually a brand that was started in 1913. So it was really at that point aimed at outdoorsy folks and blue collar workers. It was created, the founder was trying to find or create a cup that would keep their drink cold for a certain amount of time. And so that's how the brand got started, but it really took off in the last couple years. It started with a few viral instances in 2019, and going into 2020, they started partnering with brands and influencers, and they rebranded their cups to a lot of the colorful hues that you see now. And, a lot of their partnerships, they've had partnerships with Starbucks and go
What's
ahead.
really helped the brand is back in the day, think about being a construction worker, okay? You want your drinks to stay cold when you're out there in the heat working. So, Stanley was targeting a lot of industrial type of jobs and people who needed their cups. One day, there was this mom influencer who pretty much ordered tons of cups, wanted them in different colors, and they sold out fast. And they quickly realized, wait, there's this whole new market. If we change our cups into all these variety of colors, like emerald green or turquoise, I'm making up these colors, we could potentially appeal to a whole new audience. And it was accidentally happened through an influencer, and they were just selling out like hotcakes. And then Stanley decided to ride that trend and start producing their cups in a variety of colors to appeal to all genders. And that's when the business really blew up. Even though they're an age-old company, it's more so the changing of the colors really made the impact. Another example of this is Justin Bieber and Champion. He brought back the brand and made it sexy again. And I was scratching my head because when I was a little kid, Champion were really affordable, but now Champion clothing isn't affordable because Justin Bieber is wearing them. And another example is I believe he also blew up Crocs again and made them cool. And now you're seeing everyone wear Crocs. Minus me. I still refuse to wear.
I'm on the same path. I can't get behind them.
Oh, come on. Crocs are so comfortable.
No, I can't. I can't do it. But I mean, all great examples, all that to say that virality and really taking off on social media can largely impact your brand and its products.
So the seventh and last common error marketers make is simply not tracking their results. It's crazy to think that 62% of the world uses social media, but less than 1% actually knows how to measure their success or failure. So measuring KPIs is an essential part of any successful social strategy. So what KPIs should you track? We recommend tracking conversions, impressions, where your followers are predominantly located, total follower count and net new followers per month, engagement rate and post link clicks, DMs, what posting times you see your content perform the best, mentions or tags, comments, and retention.
So if you think about social media, there's a new approach, right? And yes, you want to choose the right channels and go beyond or organic. But the biggest thing that you need to think about with this new approach is it's not about just creating tons of content. It's about creating the right content and talking about new stuff. But more so at the same time, you got to think of top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, because you can actually create content for all forms. A great example of this for bottom of funnel, I'll go live on social media, educate, and at the same time have call to actions for people to just buy from us or sign up with our agency NP Digital, and it generates quite a bit of sales. And I'll show you an example of this in a little bit. You want to go to the next slide? So you can see a QR code right here, right? So I'll talk about when we're creating content for social, this is all being broadcast live on our social. I'll say, hey, if you need help with your marketing, scan the QR code right there and fill out your information. And that way you can work with us at NP Digital. If you actually try scanning that QR code with your phone right now, you'll see a counter on the screen that'll start showing how many people are scanning that QR code. It takes a few seconds, but we do this through Restream and it's super effective. So if you scan that QR code with your phone, you'll see that you get taken to a landing page. You can fill out your information if you want to work with us. It's a super effective strategy. That's in essence me using social media for bottom of the funnel, where a lot of people aren't doing that. And it's extremely effective, right? Because not only did someone listen to us for 30, 40, 50 minutes, but then we're also talking about how we can just do all this stuff for companies, whether it's social media or SEO or paid advertising, and it converts quite well. So now let's get into some questions. Also, you can scan that QR code right there for registering for up and coming webinar. As you can see here, it says 83 viewers scan the QR code, literally 83, and the number will keep going up, all because I'm doing this on social media, leveraging audiences, and it works well. And then imagine me taking this content, it all lives on YouTube, Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, etc., all for replays. What does that do? Causes more people to keep scanning. Unless they're on their phone, it makes it a little bit difficult because you can't scan it when you're on your phone, if you're watching on your phone. But either way, very effective strategy. Our next webinar is, and the 77 here, that means there's already 83. This is another 77, so it keeps adding up. Our up and coming webinar that we're hosting on August 13th is Average versus Amazing. We're going to break down lessons learned from analyzing 3,000 landing pages. We hope to see you on there. That one's going to be a really fun webinar. And now let's dive into the questions. Colin?
Great stuff, everyone. Lots of questions coming in. We've got about 15 minutes, so plenty of time. So questions in no particular order. First one's for Neil. If you're a family small business in Latin America, should you concentrate on Google ads or Meta ads? I know things are different depending on what the business is, but what are your thoughts on Google versus essentially Facebook?
You're looking at it the wrong way. It's not about focusing on Google or Meta. Small business don't have as much time. Focus on just one to start with. Once it's profitable and you scale it up, then add the next channel in there. Marketing is about leveraging all the channels that are profitable and just continually doubling down and pushing down on them because it just makes you more money. It's like saying, should you only do Google when you can also make money on Facebook? Ideally, you want to leverage all channels, but as a small business, you can't do them all at once. So focus on one channel, get it right, get it scaled up, and then continually add more channels into the mix.
Great answer. You actually answered the second question. How do small brands with a limited budget and limited resources keep up with all of this? So thank you for that, Neil. Let's see, what else do we got here? Kayla, you mentioned 80-20 rule. Can you please explain the 80 versus the 20 in that rule again?
Yeah, so 80% of your content should be either to educate, inform, or entertain your audience. And then that other 20% can be used to directly promote your brand. So by following that 80-20 rule, you're really leaning into getting more engagement and putting quality versus quantity type of content.
Awesome. Thank you. Moving on. I think all of you could probably answer this one, but I'm gonna ask Neil to do it. There were posting time suggestions in one or two slides, and multiple people were saying, "What time zone is this? PST, EST, or is it just simply?"
In your own time zone where you're targeting your ideal customer. I shouldn't say in your own time zone. It should be in the time zones that you're attracting your ideal customer. For example, if you're based in India, but you're targeting people in California, you would want to post in PST for those ideal times.
Yeah, I figured as much. Neil, while we have you, lots of questions about your using X as a testing ground. What exactly are you looking for? And maybe you can, I know you've explained it on previous webinars, but if you could just explain some of the X strategy, even for these webinars, and what you're looking at in particular. That question was asked 3 times, I believe.
Yeah, so
with X, I just post a ton of content, and then I look at the total views because X has analytics. You can see it in each post on the views you're getting. The ones with the most views, we end up taking them and then creating content for the other social networks based on what we post on X. So I'll literally read from a teleprompter those lines, line for line, word for word, and turn them from text based to video based, and then post them on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. The list goes on and on. The other thing I use X for is testing headlines. So when I'm creating posts, a lot of time it's not the content that causes the post not to do well or to do well. It's actually the hook, the first line. So sometimes I post something on X, I'm like, man, this is really good information. Why isn't it doing well? I'll delete it, repost it, but I'll just change the hook, the first sentence, to see if I can create something that gets way more engagement. And it works a lot of the time. Sometimes it doesn't though, but trial and error.
Trial and error, that's what it's all about. So Kayla and or all, how can companies better integrate influencer marketing into their overall social media strategy? Are there particular types of influencers that tend to deliver better ROI? But any sort of feedback or comments, just how to engage or leverage influencers as a part of the social strategy?
I would say one of the, oh, sorry.
Sorry, any one of you guys.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to jump in and say that I think one of the things that you really need to focus on when it comes to influencers is finding those that are either relevant to your industry or they're going after or have an audience base that you want to attract, because ultimately you are looking to their audience to help, bring that attention back to your brand. So that's one of the biggest things. And then it really just depends, as we mentioned, not just going after those macro influencers that have a very large following, but going after either a range of influencers or maybe start off with the smaller micro influencers who tend to be sometimes a little easier to work with a smaller budget as well, and then build your way up from there.
So Michelle brings up a good point on the micro influencers. We've done a lot of tests on this. The ROI per sale tends to be way higher on the micro influencers than the macro almost every single time we've tested it. Why? It's because macro influencers, the big ones, I'm not just talking about the Kardashians, I'm even talking about the people who have like 1 million followers or 750,000 or 500,000. A lot of them will be like, oh, we're only going to keep up the post for one day. A micro influencer a lot of times will keep up the post forever. They'll also be much cheaper, not just cheaper because they have less followers, but cheaper per follower, right? Like when you look at the price per follower, they tend to be less, and they're also more thankful. So they put in a lot more work promoting and creating the content, really trying to get their followers to push and buy your products and services because they want to keep working with you. So really look at micro influencers. And the best part about micro influencers is a lot of them will do it based on a rev share model. Macro influencers rarely ever do that. Micro influencers will be like, hey, I'll do it like an affiliate program where like drive you sales, cool, pay me. If I don't pay me. So it just ends up becoming much more profitable for the business.
Awesome. This one just popped up and it's a good one. Is there a recommended social media management platform that you can recommend to help scale all of the stuff that we're talking about? I mean, I know there's Sprout and lots of other ones. Any thoughts, Kayla, Neil, Michelle, on the ones that you like the best or most?
Yeah, my favorite is Sprout and Hootsuite. But also don't forget that social media platforms also give you native scheduling software. So you can directly schedule in LinkedIn, you can directly schedule on Twitter, Instagram. But those are my top two.
Cool. Anyone else want to pile onto that?
I'm probably not the right person because the team posts for me on all my social platforms. I create the content, but I haven't logged into YouTube or any one of the channels to post content in a long time.
Yeah, so here's a good one. I'm sorry to keep picking on you, Neil, but a lot of them are directed that way. Given the effectiveness of video content, are there any key elements that make a social media video successful in terms of engagement, conversions,
Yes.
etc.?
Hook, Lo-fi, busting out your phone and filming from that because it's more authentic. Captions, because a lot of people don't have the sound on when they're watching. But those are some of the 3 elements that make videos do really well. People want authentic content. They don't want highly produced. Literally bust out your phone, start recording. And even with the hooks, it doesn't have to be like clickbaity. It just has to be intriguing or evoking curiosity or about something new that interests them or something that you learn that most people wouldn't expect. Stuff like that all works well.
Okay, so follow-up question, and maybe best suited for Kayla because I know she's posting all the time. So you have that video. Can you post the exact video on all the platforms, or are there things that we need to do to sort of modify or change those for those platforms?
Yeah, I would say yes, specifically on TikTok and Instagram, LinkedIn, maybe a little different for YouTube if you're doing shorts, but you can definitely repurpose and cross schedule.
Awesome. There's seems to be some hashtag haters out there. What do y'all think of hashtags these days? Any comments on hashtags?
You can use them. They don't
Michelle?
really hurt. We don't see them working as well as they used to. But Michelle
Yeah.
would probably know better than me.
Any comments?
I mean, I was gonna say, like, even if you look on TikTok and people who are promoting certain things or they're speaking to different things, they still use them. So I'm not fully opposed to still tying it in. People are still using it in when they're searching. I would say namely in TikTok. So I wouldn't completely discredit them, but maybe not as prominent as they once were.
Got it. I always use them or think of them like keywords, kind of hashtag, whatever
Yeah.
I'd maybe like this post to show up for. But you can totally go overboard with those. So those are all of the big ones. Thank you so much, Neil, Michelle, Kayla. Thanks to the audience for all the good questions and the engagement. Yes, a replay of this will be emailed out. So those of you that had to bounce to go do something else, you'll be able to come back and pick up where you left off. So thank you so much.
And if you want to work with us at NP Digital, scan the QR code or go to npdigital.com, fill out your information, and we would love to help you grow faster. Whether it's on social, paid, SEO, it doesn't matter. We pretty much do it all in digital marketing in most major countries.
Awesome.
My name is Neil Patel, and I help companies generate more revenue through digital marketing. Entrepreneur Magazine said I was the #1 marketer in the world, and they also said I created one of the 100 most brilliant companies. I started my first website at the age of 16. I took all the money that I earned from working at an amusement park, and I paid a marketing firm. The marketing firm provided no results, and I quickly learned that I wasn't alone. Out of my frustration and from being broke, I had no choice but to learn marketing. My first client was a power supply manufacturer. I helped them generate another $25 million in sales, and from that point, I realized the power of marketing. I helped everyone that I could, and I built my reputation by being honest and over-delivering. I've helped companies like Google, NBC, Viacom, General Motors, eBay, but nothing's more satisfying than helping small business owners succeed. I founded 4 multi-million-dollar companies, and I've learned all the mistakes that you should avoid. I've written about them on Forbes, Entrepreneur, Inc., Fast Company, and even on my own blogs. It's so awesome to know that colleges from all around the world are teaching my material in their classroom. Over the years, I've received awards from the President of the United States, the House of Representatives, and the United Nations. People believe marketing is expensive and difficult. Fortunately, that's not true. There is a formula. Even if you don't have a technical bone in your body, you can get results. And my mission is to share this formula with you.